In this lesson, we'll learn how we can erase anything from a single path segment up to multiple filled objects. Alright, so there are actually a couple different tools built into Illustrator for erasing objects. Now, obviously we can just select an object we want to remove and just hit our backspace or our delete key and delete that object. But let's say we want to actually delete portions of an object or little pieces of it. And let's go ahead and talk about a couple of different tools that exist in Illustrator here for doing just that. The first one is our eraser tool. That tool sits right here in your tool panel, and the keyboard shortcut for that is Shift-E. And if we go ahead and select this tool is going to be useful for erasing single objects or multiple objects. So it does have some options we should probably take a look at here, and we can get to those again just by double-clicking on the tool itself in the tool panel. So let's go ahead and double-click that here, and these options should look pretty familiar to you if you've watched some of our previous lessons. We've got a control here that modifies the tip of our brush or our eraser. So we can again pinch that tip in, or we can rotate that around and change the angle of it. So roundness controls here and angle controls. Now we also have a diameter control down here, and you can see here that I currently have that one set to pin pressure. And a little bit of variation has been added to that. That's just because I'm using a stylus on a tablet here, and I just prefer to have a little bit of pressure sensitivity with my eraser tool. So let's go ahead and just maybe change the tip of that just a little bit, and let's explore how this works. Let me go ahead and hit OK on this dialog. And let's just come in here and look at a couple of these different shapes. I'm going to go ahead and deselect that B. We'll work with that here in just a moment. Now, if you remember, this tree here was built out of multiple shapes. Remember, we had layered shapes onto it with our blob brush, and you can see here if I pull a few of these shapes out and away, you can kind of see how this tool or how this tree was built. So let's go ahead and just undo those, move those shapes back, and let's deselect these. Now, the first way that you can use the brush tool within Illustrator is you can actually just swipe it through objects without having anything at all selected. So let me use my bracket keys on my keyboard, my open and close bracket, to actually increase the size of my brush just a little bit here. And you can see here that from the cursor preview, we actually can see how large our brush is going to be. So if I come through here now, I can just swipe through this object and erase a path right through the middle of that tree. Now, that's actually taking chunks out of several different objects here. So this is a very, very powerful eraser tool. So let's just say, for example, that maybe we don't want to erase all of these objects in the tree. We only want to erase one or two of them. So let me just undo that change here, and let's go ahead and select some of these shapes. Maybe we want to go ahead and erase some portions of maybe this dark green shape behind here. Maybe we want to trim that back a little bit in this area. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and you can see if I swipe my eraser tool through that shape with it selected, it's only going to erase the selected shape. So that's a really handy way to sort of isolate a shape that's surrounded by a lot of other shapes, so you can erase that. So again, I have it set to pressure sensitivity, but it doesn't look like I have much variation applied to it because it's not picking up on a whole lot of the sensitivity of my tablet here. So that's another way you can use the eraser tool, is just by selecting a single shape. Now, in addition to that, we can actually use our control modifier key to switch over to our selection tool, and then add a shift modifier key to that so we can add to this selection. And let's select two shapes here. Let's go ahead and select maybe this green shape here. So now we have two shapes selected. So again, with the eraser tool, we can erase only the selected shapes. So if I drag a path through that, you can see here that we're only erasing this medium green here and the darker green shape behind it. So again, we can select as many shapes as we want to with and erase with the eraser tool just those selected shapes. Now let's just go ahead and deselect this here for just a minute. Let's just switch over to another tool. Maybe we switch over to our blob brush. Say we're painting along with our blob brush here, but we are actually using a stylus and tablet that was made by Wacom. We can actually flip our stylus over to the eraser end of it, and Illustrator is going to pick up on that and temporarily switch us over to our eraser tool so we can erase. And then when we switch back over, it's going to remember the tool that we were using and switch us back over to that active tool. Now, if you use one of these particular type of pen and tablets, it's entirely up to you if you choose to use this shortcut. I personally don't use that a whole lot. I just find it a little quicker to use the keyboard shortcuts to switch over to the eraser tool, but that's just a personal preference here. Now, let's go ahead and move over to this other shape. There's actually one other type of eraser tool, and it really allows for a lot more precision erasing. And that tool is the Path Eraser tool. Now, if we look over here in our tool panel, we'll find that over here nested underneath the pencil tool, and it's the third one down here, Path Eraser tool. Unfortunately, there's no keyboard shortcut for that, but let's go ahead and choose that tool and go ahead and select this letter B right here. Now this tool is a pretty precise tool that is actually going to allow us to either erase path segments or portions of path segments. So really, I know we could come in here with our direct selection arrow and maybe delete a path segment if we want to, but this Path Eraser tool is actually going to allow us to erase only even, say, half a path segment. Let's just zoom in here and take a look. Let's just pull in on this top left portion of our B here. Maybe we want to go ahead and shave this little piece off right here. So let's just come in with our Path Eraser tool and start erasing on top of some of these paths here. You can see here how it's actually removing the path. Let me zoom in a little tighter on that. You have to be pretty accurate with that, and sometimes you'll leave a stray anchor point or two out here, but you should be able to just delete those, select those, and remove those. So let's just go ahead and select the B again here, and let's erase a part of this path. You can see how it actually relocates the anchor point based on the portion of the path that we erased. So if we just want to erase a part of a little path here, you can see here how we can shave those path segments back however we need to. So the Path Segment tool is a really precise tool that we can use for erasing just portions of a path within our artwork. Alright, so in this lesson we have looked at a few different ways that we can actually erase artwork that we've created here in Illustrator. In the next lesson we're going to continue on and we're going to look at different methods for cut, copy, and paste within Illustrator.